host, and do Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Thursday episode of Running Point on Ysn Live, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Ty is on assignment doing some regional baseball in Massillon today. He's got a doubleheader with South Range and Ursuline, both squaring off with regional semifinals in Massillon, Washington High School. So Richie Giuliano is taking the sidecar today, being my guest host. Welcome to the show, Rich.
Yeah, always great to be here, Ant.
And we are leading things off with a very good athlete out of Columbiana that does multiple sports and two sports in one season, which we think is incredible. Julia Rapp, who is getting ready for her state meet over the weekend. Julia, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and Anthony kind of addressed it first. I mean, a three-sport athlete in high school, you go from volleyball, you take a little bit of time off, and then you go right into the spring season with softball, and then, of course, track and field. So just talk about the workload and how you all manage that, I mean, academically and athletically.
I mean, it's a lot, and I do love volleyball and everything, and I also love softball and track, so that's why I do both. But it is really stressful, like, on top of, like, academics and everything, but my coaches are super supportive, and I've never had, like, issues.
One of the things that me and Richie said before the show went on when we were kind of preparing for this is, obviously track and softball are in the same season. So the question is, how do you balance that and what goes into playing both sports in the same season?
Both sports those are both like my favorite sports, so it does kind of suck that they're like in the same season, but like I mean, I would go to like track practice for an hour and then I would go finish out softball practice like before games started and everything. And then if I had a track meet, I would obviously go to the track meet over the softball game, but then in some circumstances, I would go to the softball game if they needed me. So that's just how I did it.
Now, you committed to go play at Cleveland State coming up next season. So just talk about what went into that. I mean, what other schools were you looking at, and, what ultimately landed you at Cleveland State?
I was looking at a lot of schools, but whenever I visited Cleveland, it just felt like somewhere that I would feel comfortable going, and it's not too far away from home, and that was like one of my goals was to not go too far. So I really liked Cleveland and like how close everything is.
Well, it's not too far, but it's a big city, and you're going from Columbiana, small town, to big city living in downtown Cleveland. What's that draw like? Or have you always been someone that wanted to go and live in the city, or are you kind of getting culture shock?
I mean, I haven't ever really wanted to live in a big city, but like when I visited there, like I just really liked it, and I feel like it's different, and I like different. So
Now, for you personally, I mean, you talked about the balance with softball and track. Obviously, you had to miss a couple softball games this year. So, I mean, kind of how difficult was that for you to miss a game and then, practice and come back and play in the next one? I mean, how kind of difficult was that?
I mean, it wasn't too difficult because I actually didn't miss a lot of games this year. I missed like 2. I had a hamstring injury, so I missed my senior night, but I was still at the game. But it was nice because they didn't schedule any Tuesday games unless it was like a rain makeup or whatever. But a lot of the games weren't on track meet days, so that was good.
And then in your track season, obviously you're going back to state for the second year in a row, and you finished second in the 100, second in the 4x1 relay. What did you learn from last year's state run that you're kind of taking into this year going into tomorrow?
I mean, last year I had my only goal really was to make it to state because I've never been to state before. And obviously I didn't get my sophomore season and I wanted to go my freshman year and I was really close, but I didn't make it out. So, this year it just means a lot, like being able to go again and yeah.
So it's been a long season for you. I know, obviously, with softball and track, you're probably tired at this point, but what kind of keeps you going? What pushes you and motivates you to, ultimately win an event in the state meet?
I mean, I have like such supportive people, my parents, my grandpa, my trainer Brian, he's really helped me like train and get stronger and stuff, and they just all keep me going.
I know we were waiting to see if you would also qualify for the 200. Can you give us an update if you're going to be running in that in this
Yeah,
weekend?
I'll be running in that. Yeah.
Awesome. How excited are you just to kind of live in the state meet and try to take it all in your senior year? And obviously you want to do the best you can down there, but it's also a great experience in Columbus. So how excited are you to just kind of soak it in your last time to run for Columbiana?
I mean, it's really like bittersweet because it's like my last thing of high school and everything. And our 4x1, I love those girls, and I'm glad that we're going again. And we have a new girl in our relay since Augusta graduated last year, and she really plays the role well. So going with them is super exciting, and I'm glad I get to spend like my last high school memories with them.
And how much will this prepare you for the college level? Of course, now you're competing against some of the best runners in the state. Most likely what you're going to see in the Horizon League as well with Youngstown State is one of the best programs and, not just the area, but in the Horizon League. So talk about how this state meet's going to prepare you for that college level.
Our region is really good, and I feel like we have a lot of fast girls in our region. So being able to like compete with them and get second at a really hard region meet, like that means a lot.
How much does your track help your base running? I imagine that when coaches look at you in the softball field, they go, "Okay, get her on base because she obviously can sprint. She's a 100, second in the region in the 100." How much do you think that helps your base running?
I think it helps it a lot because it's just like it's a short sprint to first base, and I'm so used to running like 100 meters, 200 meters. So like I'm not really like tired or anything. Like I can just zip around the bases, and it's not really anything.
60 feet's too short. You ever just keep going? Get in
Yeah,
that groove?
hard to stop.
Now that we talked about a lot of the athletics, I know academically it's a big decision going to Cleveland State. What are you looking to pursue academically, when you go to Cleveland State?
I'm looking to major in business and minor in healthcare management.
You look back on your schooling at Columbiana, what were some of your favorite subjects?
Um, I mean, I got good grades and everything, but I did not like school that much. But if I had to pick, I'd probably pick history or science.
We'd appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, college will be it'll be a different experience for you for sure. I mean, when you look at that and you don't like school a lot, but you're going to have to get good grades to be able to
Mhm.
compete in your track meet. So, I mean, what's the mental mindset there, knowing that you've got to get good grades in the classroom, and then athletically that kind of comes second.
Mhm. I mean, my parents have always pushed me to get good grades. So like if I don't get good grades, it's not good with my parents at all. So like that just comes like natural. Like I know I have to get good grades.
On your cap for graduation, your quote was, "It always seems impossible until it's done." That
Yeah.
tells me that there were probably some times in your high school career where it got really like, "Oh my gosh, this is never going to end. This is
Mhm.
impossible." How did you get through those times in your high school career and try to mentally push through those kind of times?
I try not to think ahead too much and I try to just like take one thing at a time. And I always stress about like the future and stuff. So whenever like I try to not think about it that much and I just like let it happen, that's like what helps me.
You did so much during your high school career. I mean, just looking back, I mean, what are some of your favorite moments with your friends? I mean, your family, and obviously racing on the track and then playing softball and volleyball. What are some of your favorite moments that kind of stand out?
We won the EOAC championship for softball 2 years in a row, and us beating Lisbon, like that was really enjoyable because they beat us my freshman year. So we were all super happy about that. And then going to Tennessee with the softball team, and then I have a lot, but going to state for the second year in a row with our 4x1 team.
What makes you proud to be a Clipper and represent the school system and wear the colors?
It's just such like a small town and like supportive community. I feel like everyone in the town right now knows that like we're going to state, which is really nice because like everyone's talking about it and asking me and stuff like that.
Then when you look at that, being from a small town and then you jump to the big city, do you feel like you have to prove yourself in any way? Like you said, everybody kind of knows who you are at this point in Columbiana, knows that you're a great athlete all around. I mean, when you get to the next level and you're surrounded by great college athletes, do you think that you have to prove yourself in any way, or are you just trying to be yourself?
I mean, kind of both. I feel like I'll definitely improve getting like the good college coaching and everything like that. But I'm not really trying to like I don't know. I just hope I do better than I have been.
You've been able to be coached by a lot of different people with all the sports that you do play. How much do you think that has helped you being able to be coached by different people and see different philosophies, different mindsets, and take what you can from each of them?
So my trainer Brian, I started working with him last year, and he really like he fixed my start and everything. I feel like I have such like more of a powerful start, and I also started lifting my sophomore year going into junior year a lot. So like I feel like that helps. And then I had Coach Morrow my freshman year, and he really like he had a lot of knowledge, so that was helpful.
Now, how flexible were your coaches this season? Obviously, you're balancing softball and track. I mean, you hit 500 on the softball diamond, so both coaches probably want you to be that primary sport. So, I mean, just talk about the flexibility of your coaches and how you were able to play both sports at the same time.
Both of the Kurtzes, they were super supportive, and they never complained whenever I'd show up late to practice or whatever because they knew I had track, and I'd be rushing from place to place. So like they knew I was stressed, and they never gave me a hard time about it. And my track coaches, they just let me leave whenever I needed to.
So you excel in everything. You excelled on the volleyball court. You excelled on the softball field. Richie just said you hit 500, and obviously you're going to state and track. There's got to be this successful mindset that you have, this competitive drive. Where does that come from?
Um, I mean, each time I run, I always set a goal for myself. If that's like running like a good time or beating someone or, like I always set a goal, and then my parents are always motivating me too.
When you look at your goals and upcoming in the state track meet, of course you want to get the victory, but overall there's a lot of different things that go into place, especially when you're able to get to that state meet. So have you kind of reached your expectations? I mean, is it a bonus if you get that win? I mean, have you already kind of reached your expectations getting to state?
Last year that was kind of my mindset because I didn't really like expect to make it to state last year. I mean, I did, but like I just wanted to make it to state. But this year I definitely want to place, and I want to break our school record that was set in like 1978. I'm so close to it, so I do have a lot of goals.
Records are made to be broken. We're going to hit you with some rapid fire questions before we let you go to get to know you a little bit off the field, since we know you so well on the field. First, I'll start with, are you sunrise or sunset? Which one do you like better?
Sunset.
Or a night in or a night out?
Uh, it depends. Probably a night out.
What's the go-to like hangout spot for you?
Probably our school or my friend's house.
When we're talking softball, what's the go-to dugout snack for you?
I do like sunflower seeds and I like bubble gum.
What's the flavor of sunflower seeds that you like?
Original.
That's awesome. What about Gatorade? What's the go-to Gatorade flavor?
White all the way.
If Gatorade was going to come to you and say, "Hey, Julia, we want you to make a flavor and name it," what do you think your response to that would be?
Oh, pina colada.
Awesome. And what would you call that?
I don't know. I mean, I picture it being white.
If you were gonna own a business, what would you hope that it sells?
Um, athletic gear.
What is one thing that you spend a lot of money on that you probably shouldn't?
Mm, clothes. I buy a lot of clothes.
What was your last impulse buy?
Hmm. Oh, our senior trip vacation.
What's your favorite vacation spot?
Florida.
If you could vacation anywhere that you haven't been, where would you want to go?
Hawaii.
If you could live anywhere, where would you want to live?
Anywhere south with the beach.
What's that line? Like, where's that line? Like anywhere south of this point. Do you have a line?
Like Myrtle Beach, Outer Banks, anything like that.
And she's staying in Ohio for college.
Yes.
Still dealing with the cold weather. What's your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
What's your least favorite holiday?
St. Patrick's Day.
If you were given the power to create a holiday, what would the holiday be for?
A hard one. I don't know.
Since you said Christmas is your favorite, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Awesome. Okay. What's the best Christmas gift you've ever received?
My MacBook.
What's the best Christmas gift you've ever given?
Think. I'm not sure. I can't really remember off the top of my head.
What is one thing that other people don't think is a big deal but drives you nuts?
I have no.
You don't have any pet peeves. You're completely mellow.
Yeah, I do. I just can't think of stuff.
What's one thing that you would do if you could go back in time?
Not false start. Starting ball.
If you could have dinner with anybody from the past, living or dead, who would you want to have dinner with?
Like celebrity.
Could be anybody.
My grandma.
All right. Julia, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We love talking to you. We got you for volleyball. Now we get you for softball and track. We wish you the best of luck this weekend and in your future at Cleveland State. And we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Julia Rapp from Columbiana, track star, softball star, all of the above, joining us on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Man, Richie, when you play 3 different sports, and not only do you play them, but you excel at all 3 of them, that says something about not just your athleticism, but your work ethic and your drive.
Yeah, no, I mean, going from volleyball, which you get some time off, and then you got to jump into 2 sports at the same time. Now, I mean, at Canfield, you don't see that very often. I mean, you don't really see that anywhere, especially when you're playing softball and track, which she's lucky enough. She said that she only had to miss 2 softball games, but with conflicting schedules like that, I thought it was going to be more like 5, 6, or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's pretty special that she was able to do both and excel at both. Obviously, going to the state meets coming up in Columbus, and then her softball team was undefeated in their conference, and she hit 500 and led the squad as well. So, just a really exceptional athlete, and you could tell a very hard worker.
So yeah, she's tops on the team in batting average. She runs and she's second in the region in the 100, second on the 4x100 relay team, and is also going to be running in the 200, where she finished 5th in the region. And then, oh, by the way, their volleyball team is pretty good, and she's one of their leading outside hitters. So It's almost unfair. I'm sure the basketball coach, Crispin's down there like, bring that athleticism over here. What are you doing? You know?
Kind of like one of those players. It kind of reminds me of like, a Braden O'Shaughnessy, back in high school when
Khaki
he was like,
Grisdale, 20 varsity letters when she
yeah,
graduated.
and Grisdales, those two from Poland that were like unbelievable, scoring over 1,000 points. And then you put them on a baseball and softball diamond and they'd hit it like 500 with like 6 home runs. It's like, you know what? You just got to accept the fact that they're just good at everything.
Braden O'Shaughnessy, such a good athlete at Poland. I remember doing the basketball game where he broke the school record for points in a game, and I'm thinking, this kid, if he's going to go to college in baseball and he's this good in basketball, how good is he in a baseball diamond? Well, we got
Everybody remembers him as a basketball player in high school just because of how good he was and how many gyms that he packed on a single night. People went to go see him play. I mean, that's kind of the impact that he had around this community.
we got that answer this year on how good of a baseball player he is. He excelled at YSU this season.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say.
Richie, the season for YSU is over, and they had a pretty decent run at the Horizon League championships. Every game was pretty competitive. They had that long extra inning game against Oakland. And why don't you recap their season while we have the voice of the YSU Penguins on and take away some of the bright spots that they had and kind of what they're looking at in the future as well?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the bright spots, obviously Braden O'Shaughnessy and Matt Brodsky kind of rank at the top of that list. Matt Brodsky was the Horizon League Pitcher of the Year, second year in a row that YSU has won the Pitcher of the Year. So a lot of people are looking for him to get drafted in this offseason. That's how good he was, dominant, struck out a lot of batters, pounded the zone, never walked guys, and that was the big key. He threw five complete games, including his complete game shutout in the Horizon League tournament, and that was top 5 in the country. So a guy that'll give you a lot of length and stretched out the pitching staff. And then you got a guy like Braden O'Shaughnessy that hit over 350 this season for YSU. Another first-team All-Horizon League selection, and he pretty much led the Penguins in every offensive category that you could really think of. And, a guy that was really clutch. But, off the field, a guy that's really humble. If you walked into that locker room, you would have no idea that he's batting 350 with 50 RBIs just because of how humble and, how good of a person he actually is. And, he really does a good job of helping everybody else around him, not just himself. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get O'Shaughnessy back next season. His brother, Pad's going to come back for his 5th and final year. So hopefully that'll kind of, lead Braden to come back to the squad. And Matt Brodsky most likely will probably get drafted. So, I wish him the best of luck. There's scouts at every single game watching him pitch. And it's not like, he hasn't done well, because he is absolutely excelled when the scouts have come to watch him pitch. So there's definitely going to be a lot of scouts out there, a lot of director of player personnel that are going to be circling his name come draft time. So, I'm expecting him to get drafted, but if not, I hope he comes back.
That's the crazy thing about college athletics in the state that it's in right now. We have to hope that these successful players will come back because the transfer portal is a reality now, and it's swirling everywhere. It's especially, I think, in the spring with baseball and softball, the transfers we see, and the portal is so active in those sports. It's crazy to think like, hey, he had a successful season, but we just have to hope that he comes back because he has every opportunity to take that successful season and try to find greener pastures per se.
And it really does hurt a lot of mid-majors. It helps out. It helps out the Power Fives, I'll tell you that, because they're getting the best mid-major players. I mean, you look at a guy from the Horizon League, Griffin Dorsing, who played in Northern Kentucky for a couple of years, and then look what he did at Oklahoma State. I was watching him on ESPN playing Baylor in their conference tournament, and he had a 3-run home run about 400 feet. I mean, he's been unbelievable at Oklahoma State, which is a huge Power 5 school. Looking at YSU, they lost 2 of their middle infielders this season. Philip Glasser, who went to Indiana, he was a second-team All-League, and Jeff Whaler, who was a first-team All-League who went to Pitt. So if you look at their roster from last year without Colin Floyd, Colin Clark went to Texas Tech, they would have had a really good shot to win the Horizon League championship this year if they had a complete group. I mean, you would have a Whaler, a Glasser, an O'Shaughnessy, all 3 of those guys on your infield that probably would have hit over 300. So I mean, it makes a big difference, and it hurts a lot of mid-majors for sure.
And they can kind of, it goes both ways. They can pick up people that are slipping through the cracks. Maybe there's some player that is not getting his due at a Power 5 school that can come into a Horizon League level team and just smack the snot out of the ball. So it can work both ways. But I think you're right. It's kind of the YSUs of the world are turning into farm systems for that Power 5 baseball organizations.
And I think at some point they're going to have to put a limit, or, I get with the COVID year, that's why they expanded this and they opened this up. Obviously with NIL growing as well, that they're probably going to keep it open, but I think there's got to be a limit at some point. There was over 1,000 players in the transfer portal immediately after the season was over in basketball. And, it just really can't happen. I mean, when you look at it from a college athletic perspective, because a lot of these guys, they get recruited by these coaches. They're raised by these coaches for 3 or 4 years, and they just want to jump ship for 1 year. And I get it because it betters their college career. But at some point, when does, the NCAA or a league or a conference kind of step in and say, all right, enough is enough, because we're either losing too many guys to this and it's hurting our league, because the Power Fives are loving it. I mean, it's only making their conferences better, but, it's hurting the smaller conferences. When you look at the Horizon League and the women's basketball teams, there's a ton of basketball players who are leaving. I mean, some of the best players in the league are gone. So, it hurts the league overall,
NECA went from YSU last year to UTEP, right? UNLV.
Yeah.
Any word on how she did down there? Do you know?
She was really good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she was really good. Yeah.
Scores, had almost 10 rebounds a game. So, those players are going to continue to excel because they show how dominant they are. I mean, when you look at like in Oakland, a Kalasia Dean, their leading scorers most likely going to be gone. Isabella Geraci is gone from Cleveland State. A couple other players are out from Northern Kentucky and Wright State. So, yeah, it just hurts the league overall with the transfer portal, but you can't really make excuses because, like you said, it works both ways. It has that double-edged sword effect where, you could also pull players in from bigger schools like Youngstown State did. They brought in a forward from Tennessee. So we'll see how that turns out in the upcoming season. Yeah, overall, you hope that you get your best players to stay, but, it doesn't always work that way.
DJ's excited. It's a big day on the network. A lot of baseball, including regional action in Louisville, South Range, Ursuline, and JFK, all fighting for a trip to the regional final. We'll also have Class B baseball as well from Scene Park. A lot on the network tonight and a lot to talk about because although all week me and Ty have been kind of previewing this baseball and previewing the regional, now it's here. We can kind of dive even a little bit deeper into these teams and what their chances are. I know we were talking about this Division 3 where we see two teams playing in the same spot in the same regional bracket. South Range will play Hawken, and then Ursuline will play right after them against Apple Creek Waynedale.
Yeah.
And, Coach Kemp came on yesterday. He talked about Waynedale. They're a team much kind of like Louisville that has been relying on their defense and their pitching to win games in the tournament. And, this Ursuline offense is so hard to go up against because they have players that can beat you 1 through 9.
And, what really makes Ursuline special is their ability to play small ball and speed teams up. Anthony Romo and myself did the district semifinal game when Ursuline won that ball game, and then they advanced to the district final. Their 8 and 9 hitters led the team in hitting. Bako had 2 bunt singles in the game, so that already gets you on base. Mark Manning had a bunt single and an infield single, and they scored 3 or 4 of their runs in that district semifinal game. So when you guys have guys at the bottom of the order that can contribute like that and lay down bunts and move guys and do their job, that is pivotal to a regional semifinal game, because not every team in the regional or in the state has a 1 through 9 that could get you on base. So, that is huge when you look at their roster. And then, of course, when you look at the top, you got guys like Luca Raschuti who are pretty dominant at the plate, your RBI guys per se that'll drive in the runs and plug the gaps. But, when you look at this from a regional perspective, it's the little details that are going to win you ball games. And it's those little things like putting down bunts, moving guys in scoring position, beating out the infield singles. I think Ursuline has all the tools that they need to make a run in this regional.
And they're saying, hey, you want to rely on your defense, and we'll put pressure on that defense with our speed, and we'll make you rely on that defense. So it's going to be interesting because pitching wise, Ursuline can probably go toe to toe with Waynedale, with Carilla getting the start. He's been their number one all season. And you saw him in the semifinals, right? He pitched the district semis. I mean, he's got stuff,
He's
right?
got good stuff.
He's got good stuff. And it can get nasty out there when you're trying to hit against them. So I expect a low scoring game, and it'll come down to who executes better, who makes the little mistakes, and really timely hitting is going to be so important. They say in tournament baseball you need good pitching, good defense, and timely hitting. And if you can get 2 out of 3 of those, you have a good chance to win.
Well, I think we know that they're going to get the good pitching performance the way that Carilla has thrown the last month. Like you mentioned, he's got really good off speed, and what's big about Carilla is that he pounds the zone. He's only walked 20 guys this season compared to 67 Ks, which is an unbelievable stat there. So when you look at a regional game, you don't want to give free passes up because they always come back to haunt you. And you know that Carilla is going to attack hitters and that he's going to get those big strikeouts and big moments. So they're obviously going to dominate you on the pitching mound. Now the question is, will they get those timely hits? Because when they played Middlefield Cardinal, they did leave 12 guys on base in that game, which isn't the best, but they found ways to produce runs at the end of the game and, kind of pad that lead to win it. So, I mean, that's key. That's a good point from you, Ant. They got to get those timely hits today, in the middle half of that order, because that seems to be where they get guys on base.
Sometimes at this level, you can get 4 hits, but if the 4 hits are at the right time, you can still win a game.
Yep.
If they're 4 hits with runners in scoring position, they score runs. And you said it too. Ursuline's really good at situational hitting, moving guys over, getting them into scoring position, and giving their hitters those chances for the clutch hits.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Raschuti drove in double the other way that scored the first run. And then the gates kind of opened up after that. In that district semifinal, 3 innings in a row, they left 2 or more guys on base. So, once they get that one big hit, the floodgates kind of open and that offense kind of rallies behind Raschuti and some of the other guys. So, obviously, with Carilla going to be in the lineup today hitting, you got Raschuti, you got Bako, you got Manning. You got a couple other guys towards the top of the order. This is definitely a tough draw for Apple Creek Waynedale, but hopefully, we get to see a kind of local matchup in the regional final. That's in Division II. That's where a lot of people thought we were going to get that local matchup with either a Salem, a Marlington, or a Louisville taking on Canfield. But, we've seen stranger things in this postseason. So this is kind of our opportunity per se for the Valley and for YSN to get that local matchup with South Range and Ursuline, and that would be a beauty to watch in that regional final. That's a lot of fun.
Talking about South Range and Stranger Things for fans of the Netflix show, they're playing Hawken, so Gatesville Hawken for South Range. And when you look at this Raiders team, they can pitch with the best of them too, with Billy Skurpak, getting the start as their ace tonight. I should say today. They start at 2:00. But their offense is very unique in the sense that they have peppered in that offense guys that can really hit the ball, but also guys like Ursuline that can play small ball and just get on base. They have a good lineup 1 through 9, and you don't see that a lot in the high school level. Usually these pitchers are conditioned to take a mental break when they see 7 come up and 8 and 9, and you can't do that against South Range's lineup.
No, they can't. They've scored 177 runs this season, which is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, when you look at their wins, they have beat up some teams. They've scored double-digit runs in almost half of their games this season. So, obviously, you have one of the best offenses in that division. And Hawken, who's a good team, they are a good team, Gates Mills Hawken, but I think South Range with Skurpak on the mound, they might be a little much for them. When you look at Hawken, they're 18-5 this season. Offensively, they have not been as good as South Range, but they've still been pretty solid. They've won a lot of their games in close contests, 4-3, 5-3. So they've played some really close games, which might help them down the stretch because South Range has beaten up a lot of schools. They haven't been in, a lot of close games this year, and Hawken has. But, if they could jump on them early and really put them away in the first 3 innings, I don't see a problem for the Raiders here tonight.
The crazy thing is, if you ask Coach Hannock before the season, he'd probably tell you we're going to be in a lot of close games with the schedule that he plays.
Yeah, they played
Almost no Division III schools end up on that schedule. They play almost exclusively Division II and one on purpose because they want to get ready for the tournament. So I don't think he would really expect that, but they have just lock, stock, and barrel all the way through the NE8. They won the NE8 this year, back-to-back district champions. Didn't have too much trouble with Columbiana in the championship game, 7-2 win to get them there. It's just it feels like one of those special seasons for the Raiders.
It does, and every time they've needed a big win, they've got it. I mean, when you look at Niles McKinley, that was a game towards the end of the season before the district tournament that was for the NE8, and they came out with that 4-1 victory.
Right.
Obviously, they were supposed to play twice, but I believe they only played once because they already won the NE8, and their next game was a playoff game in 2 days against champions, so they kind of wanted to just sharpen the tools and take care of that NE8 hardware and then focus on the tournament. But, when they played big games, they've won the big games, beating West Branch in the opener. I mean, a team obviously that is really good, and they got a one-run victory against them. Going up and down the schedule, they beat Lakeview 1-0, and then they came back and beat them 20-3. Beat Poland 10-0. So, I mean, they've got some really good wins on their schedule. They beat Ursuline 5-3 earlier in the season. So that's
the only blemish in the NE8, I believe, was Hubbard took care of them 2-0, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2-0.
And that was the Hubbard team that kind of shocked the whole NE8 with how young they were, but how skilled they were. I mean, you got a chance to see them a couple of times. In the Niles game, 4-1, Niles proved to the baseball world how good of a win that was when they went down and they beat Canfield in Division II districts.
Yeah, that definitely boosts the strength of schedule for South Range beating Niles. I was at that game. I called that game for Niles and Canfield, and just got to tip my cap to Coach Mike Gennari and what he did, what kind of game plan they had against Canfield, who was obviously the front runner, not to just win the district, but win the state. I mean, just putting that out there. But Mike Gennari and his squad bunted 9 times in that ball game. They had a situation, with runners at first and third and 1 down with their cleanup hitter at the plate, and they did a safety squeeze to score. It's the little things and the little details that win you ball games come postseason time. So I give a lot of credit to Coach Gennari, his game plan, and every time they needed that hit, they were able to find that perfect spot and drop it in. And obviously they were able to get a great start by Kozak, who almost dominated the Cardinals, on the mound.
And he got the correct me if I'm wrong, he got the game-winning double.
He did. He hit the double down the line. Yeah.
So we had a chance to talk to Anthony Fisher on Running Point during the season, and I think that's one of the most cool stories in baseball. His first varsity start was this season because of some injuries. He's been kind of a bullpen guy for his career. Gets his first start of his varsity career. He throws a no-hitter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, and it was like a 1-0 no-hitter. It wasn't like one of the ones where his team just blew out the team and it was no pressure. I mean, he threw a gem in a game where he had to.
I mean, that's impressive enough. And, Fisher in that district semi game, he had a hit, was able to score a run as well. So he was a big time part of that. And, I want to give credit to their defense as well. I know he was a DH in that game, but overall defensively, Niles did everything they had to do to beat Canfield. They were really clean defensively, made the plays that, they needed to make. Unfortunately, their season came to a close against Chardon, who was really talented, but what a special run for that program, making it back to the district final for the 3rd time since 2017. I know when I played in 2017 and 2018, we played Niles. So making it back to the district semi and final for the 3rd time in the last 4 or 5 years. So that's a program that has consistently been good under Mike Gennari there.
And he's one of the more tenured baseball coaches in the area. So that he came in with a lot of experience to that game. And we congratulate Niles on a great season. We got off on that tangent there. Let's venture back to the teams that are playing today in Warren JFK in Division 4. Talk about a team that has been there, done that, almost every player back from last year's state championship. And we've had a chance to talk to several of them on Running Point, and they have this, I want to call it swagger. I want to call it I don't want to call it attitude because that brings a negative kind of connotation to it. Mm-hmm. But a sense that when they walk into the stadium, they kind of expect to win.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you coming off a state championship. You got your guy who won the state championship for you, and Gavin Strum, who's been the race on the mound this season. He's 4-0, hasn't lost a game with an ERA under a $1.40. So you got one of the best pitchers in that region and that division that is most likely either going to throw today or in the regional final game like they did last year in the state championship. So you got a horse like that on the mound for you, and then offensively, you got some guys that have been really swinging it. DeSalvo, Morrow, Rossi, those three guys have kind of led the way for JFK. So, they're a two-dimensional team. They could swing it, they could pitch it, and honestly, they have been absolutely running through their schedule in the last month. So they've got a lot of momentum coming in. Their only close battle was against Lake Center Christian in that playoff game in the district where they were able to squeeze out a 5-4 victory. But other than that, they've really just mowed through their schedule this season.
How many times do we see a team kind of struggle a little bit, get a walk-off win, and that kind of propels them through the tournament? I mean, that Lake Center Christian game was a big game, and Michael Morrow hit a walk-off base hit to win 5-4. And it was probably one of those ones that, like, if they would have lost that game, it would have been like such a disappointment for this JFK team to, go from a state championship to losing in the districts, because they survived and advanced, and they did it in the fashion they did, almost like a smelling salt, a wake up call. And the next game, it was like, okay, here we go, we're ready for business.
Yep. And how about the way that game ended as well? Crazy play at the plate, by the way. I don't know if you saw that on any social media or anything.
I did. I saw it, but the angle I saw wasn't good enough to say like an opinion on what the call was or if it was right or not.
Oh, he missed the tag, that's for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, it was just a crazy play at the plate and a weird way to end the game. But, overall, I'm looking forward to JFK and, hopefully making another run. And, they've consistently been that team in multiple sports that we can rely on and the Valley can kind of get behind, knowing that they're going to make a run in the playoffs. I mean, look what they've done in the past couple of years, on the football field, on the basketball court, on the baseball diamond. They've made runs in almost every sport. And it doesn't matter, what season it is. You look at the regional bracket, you're like, oh, there's JFK again. I mean, they've consistently just won over the past couple of years. And you got to give credit to this class with DeSalvo and Strum and Morrow and, all those guys who have done such wonders for this program over the past 4 years.
When we talked to a couple of them, the ones that are on the football team, they brought up the fact that they know what it feels like to win a state championship, but they also know what it feels like to lose a state championship, and they've drawn on both those experiences for football and baseball. And that was kind of interesting to know, like, we know how it feels to lose a big game like that, and we don't want to ever feel that way again. So, you wouldn't think it, but losing a state championship in football has also helped them tremendously, drive them to a state championship run.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that because when you look at JFK, not a big school, so a lot of those guys are two-dimensional, three-dimensional athletes where they're going to be both playing football, basketball, and baseball. So it's not like a bigger school, a D1, a D2, where you lose that regional final or that state championship in football and everybody's like crushed because you knew that was your opportunity and your time to seize the moment. And, it might never happen again. But when you have guys that play baseball as well, and that pretty much their entire baseball roster is on their football roster, they know that feeling, and that probably motivated them even more to go out and win a baseball state championship just because they knew how athletic they were and how talented they were, and they didn't want to get slighted in the state like they did in football. So that's a good point you make there, and I didn't really think about that until you said that.
The other thing I loved, Alex DeSalvo said it yesterday. They take it personally when teams walk into a stadium and think they're gonna win. Like they try to big chest them and they walk in with swagger. JFK takes that personally. They notice the other team and how they walk into a stadium. And if you walk into a game against JFK thinking you're gonna win and walking in with that swag, that attitude, that makes them even more motivated to beat you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what Hillsdale does today. 5:00, I believe, that start time. Hillsdale is a team that also has a lot of confidence and probably has some swagger coming into today. 24-4. They've won 6 games in a row, including their win over Richfield Revere in the district final, 7-6 in 10 innings.
Yeah, so I think Revere was probably a favorite in that district.
Yeah, they were. So that both teams are coming off some close wins and some wins that came down to the wire. And like you said, it's just that one win, whether it be a 9 inning contest, an extra inning game, a walk-off that kind of ignites you in the playoffs and gives you a lot of confidence. So, I mean, Hillsdale's riding the high horse coming into today as well. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. Gilmore Academy, that's always a beautiful facility where they play. So, it's going to be cool.
They're a Division III school with a Division I type of facility. That's what I've always described Gilmore Academy as.
They have 2 hockey rinks there at Gilmore Academy.
Have you seen like the satellite image of their complex?
Yeah,
it looks like it's a college university.
Well, money-wise, it is.
Money-wise, it is. So the fact that they're Division III in enrollment is kind of like one of those ones that make you scratch your head. But obviously, they are. You can't get Division III if you don't have the numbers. But it's still one of those ones where like they have all the resources in the world, and they have one of the best volleyball programs in the state. They have a great softball program on the rise. Baseball obviously is good. The only thing the downside, their football stadium is still lacking. They don't have lights. Yeah. Like there have been playoff games that are supposed to have been at Gilmore Academy that have to be moved because they don't have lights in the football stadium. So that's kind of head scratching right there.
Yeah, I think they kind of, I don't want to say cater towards their good sports, but obviously when you look at baseball, they're building around that field. I mean, a couple years back when I was in high school, they were just building that all turf surface with, the new dugouts and, some seats behind home plate in the surrounding areas. But now they're really expanding that. I heard they're putting in money for a press box so they could host a lot of different games. And then you look at their hockey ranks. They have 2 of them. They're one of the best hockey programs in the country.
They had, because I did their softball game for the districts. They were in the district championship. They had 3 different girls that were all committed to college hockey. Yeah, they were hockey players. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay,
yeah, that's different. I mean, hockey's a lot bigger up towards the Cleveland area where they're from. So obviously, when you have a Gilmore Academy, who's one of the best hockey teams in the country, in the high school level, they travel all over the place. So they're going to have 2 rinks, and they're going to have the best of the best there. And then their baseball field's really nice. Their softball field's nice. But like you said, their football field, they'll probably work on that. I mean, it's all about money and funds and, what they want to put into what. So,
I feel like they excel even more at the Olympic sports, like the track and fields, the swimmings, the hockeys, the volleyball. Like those are the ones they really focus in on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and they're good at all of them. But, going back to what we were talking about, and, Gilmore's a great place to play. But, I'm really looking forward to this matchup today with Hillsdale and, JFK. And, of course, you could watch all these games here on YSN. We got 4 of them in high school baseball action with South Range, Louisville, who we still have to touch on, and then Ursuline and, Warren JFK. 2 o'clock, South Range, right? And then 5 o'clock, the rest?
Yep, 2 South Range, 5 Ursuline, 5 JFK, 5 Louisville. We'll go back up to Division II and talk about this Louisville team that has made a good run in a really tough Louisville bracket, beating Marlington, beating Salem to get into the districts. What a run this team has been on. Both games in the districts, they've scored 2 runs in the first inning, and that has been enough for their pitching staff.
Yeah, when you got Warner, who's one of the best pitchers around this area, hasn't given up an earned run, I think you said, in over 2 months or the last month, something around there. But it's a pretty cool story with his dad as the head coach and then him as the ace pitcher. So for Warner to put up the numbers that he has and, for Louisville to rally around, their community, because they weren't the number 1 seed. They weren't the number 2 seed in that district, but they were still able to host their district just because of how nice their facility is as well with that all turf. And, they have speakers for songs and walk-up songs. So, it was pretty fortunate that they were able to host that tournament, and it helped them out a lot with good crowds and, boosted them with wins over Salem and beating the number 1 seed in Marlington. So 2 upsets for them, and, congrats on their district championship. We wish them the best here today against University School.
We talked to their players and how crazy it was to be a visitor in their own home field and what that felt like to be in the visitors' dugout while they were they were hosting. Yeah. And that was a crazy dynamic.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I wonder if they made them go to the visiting dugout.
Well, I don't know. I know they were the visiting team. I don't know if they played in the visiting dugout. DJ did both those games, so he might know for sure. But being even like going into the top of the inning and having to shut someone down in the bottom was a different mindset than they're used to in that stadium.
Yeah, and I mean they did it quite well. I mean Salem was a terrific game, 2-1 the final, and obviously taking down the Quakers, who has Rhodes, who's one of the best pitchers in the valley, and then beating Marlington, who this year was really good in regular season play. The Dukes, who finished 20-5, they were 10-2 in the Eastern Buckeye to win that conference. And Marlington was another team like Canfield, who were slated to win that district and make it to the regional semifinal or final. But Louisville played the underdog story in that district, and we wish them the best here tonight. And they got a pretty good matchup coming up. I mean, a game that they could win. University School, who's 24-8, so they haven't been dominant this season. They have played really well in the last couple of weeks, winning 5 in a row coming into today, including they beat Talmadge, who is the number 2 seed in that district. So that's one of the biggest upsets, in that part of the region in northeastern Ohio. So beating Talmadge is a big victory coming into today.
DJ saying that there's a rumor that Shapiro will be starting on the mound, who is the son of the former Indians general manager.
There we go, Mark Shapiro. He's with Toronto now, so that'll be pretty cool. I wonder if he'll make a little flight to
cameo,
little flight to northeastern Ohio to watch that ball game.
Talk about. I mean, if that's true, I mean, if you're on a high school baseball team and your dad is obviously that involved in Major League Baseball, you've probably met a lot of influential people and a lot of great advice that is easy to access. I mean, that's going to be such a big resource to have.
That would be phenomenal if one of my teammates' dad was playing. He played obviously, and then he's now the general manager, for a major league club. That gives you so many resources. And University School is another one of those Gilmore Academy type schools. So I mean, it's not a public school, so obviously they're going to have a lot of resources there. And that's pretty cool. That's a good story that you could throw out there with Mark Shapiro's son, who will be getting a start tonight. I mean, when you look at his numbers, my goodness, he's got an ERA of 0.53. He's 8-0 this season. So his dad might be drafted out of high school this year.
That'd be something. And it's going to be a pitcher's duel because Anthony Warner hasn't given up an earned run in over a month.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fun for sure. That's what I love so much about regional baseball, because you're getting the best of the best. You're facing some of the best pitchers, in the state. Every year when you look at it, your dog's got to go first in the regional semi. So
right.
You're getting the best of the best here today. And then, if you have that number 2 who's electric that can pitch in the regional final, if not, you kind of hope that you could put something up offensively and, outscore the opposition. But today's the day where you're going to see the best of the best.
And when you talk about this Louisville program, they really buy into the fact that any given day, anyone can step up and be the guy. So you could see a different guy hit that game-winning, hit every single day. In the district championship, it was Carson Siegfried with the 2-run home run in the top of the first inning that gave them all the runs they needed. So you wonder who's going to be the guy this time. Like, who's going to be that guy that steps up and makes the play?
Yeah, Romo and I were talking about this, on the broadcast. It's always those unsung heroes who come out and somehow get that game-winning base hit, or the winning run that scores. Guys like a Bako or a Mark Manning for Ursuline will probably be the contributing factors today in their victory. And you're probably going to have other guys other than Strum and Morrow that are going to come through. Maybe DeSalvo's the hero tonight. So it's always the guys that you least expect that always contribute in the postseason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because the scouting report's directly related to some of the best players and, they're not paying attention to you, so they're going to throw you fastballs instead of, curves and sliders. But it's always the best players that, are controlled, and then the guys that you haven't seen all season come out and go 2 for 3 or 3 for 4 with that game-winning hit.
In the last couple of weeks of the softball season before YSN's teams were eliminated, we saw that like every day. It was like South Range won a district championship because their 7-hitter hit 2 home runs in the game. Yeah. And then, Ursuline went up against Tuslaw in the regional championship. A hitter came up who had no hits on the day, was 7th in their lineup, and she hit the walk-off single for her first hit of the day. So you get those contributions from the players that probably, you take a little bit of breath against. And it's crazy. And even Fitch, Hoover's game-winning hit against Fitch was from their 9-hole hitter. So yeah, I think the best teams get contributions from everywhere in the lineup.
I think that goes back to our point that we made about 30 minutes ago, that you have to have a consistent 9 or whatever it is, consistent 10, whatever you're hitting, that you have to have in order to make a run in the playoffs, because everybody else has a consistent 9 and a good 9, but that makes the best teams in the region and in the state when you got an 8 or a 9 hitter that could bring you home 2 runs in the game. Because if not, if you got 4 or 5 guys, that only brings you so far in this tournament, because when you're facing a guy like Shapiro tonight, he's going to lock down your first 4 or 5. So you're going to need other guys that can hit the ball behind you. And, baseball's an individual team sport at the same time, because individually you're one-on-one against that pitcher, but you're working for a team goal to bring in that run. So, individually, you got to have guys out there that are good athletes and that are good players, or else, it's going to be a feast for, the opposition or whoever's pitching.
Can you imagine if, because the pitcher has 8 defensive people behind him to help him if he gives up anything contact? Imagine if a hitter would be tag team, okay, I swung and missed that pitch. You try to get him now. I got a defense behind me. That'd be crazy. One of the things about Louisville and in this lineup conversation we're having, not only do you have to be consistent 1 through 9, but I think it's important for 1 through 9 to all accept their role and know their job, because everyone's job is a little bit different in the lineup. And you have a guy whose job is to use their speed to get on base and try to hit the ball on the ground. He can't be trying to have exit velocity and launch angles, because for him, hitting the ball in the air is a bad thing. So guys that understand their role and understand their job are just as important as being consistent. You got to be consistently good at your job in the lineup.
That reminds me of Major League with Willie Mays Hayes, who, he came into spring training wanting to drill home runs. He was popping them up into the cage, and then the head coach comes out and says, every fly ball that you hit, you're doing 100 push-ups. So, everybody's got to know your role. In that instance, he was a speedy guy who just wanted to pound the ball into the ground and get on base. And, that's another pivotal point of the game of baseball. I keep alluding to this, but, your 2 guys for Ursuline towards the bottom of the order, Bako, phenomenal butter, able to get on base with a bunt single or move guys. And then Manning uses his speed. He's a wide receiver on the football field. He could chop balls in the infield. He hit a base hit to the third baseman in the district semifinal. And, it doesn't look the best on paper. It's not the flashiest thing in the world, but the job is done. You're getting on base, and you have that opportunity to steal second. He could even steal third if he wants. That's because how fast he is. But you have to know your role in the game of baseball. Not everybody's a power hitter. Not everybody is a contact hitter. There's different rules in this game that you need to apply in order to win. So when you look at all these teams today, South Range, Ursuline, JFK, Louisville, they all have different roles on their team in order to win a regional final. And I think that's what's going to come down to today, situational baseball and the small details of the game that'll always win you.
We have YSN's co-pitcher of the year still in action in South Range. We have YSN's defensive player of the year still in action in Louisville and JT Popek. The talent on the field today is unreal.
Yeah, and when you look at the talent, obviously we lost a lot in the district. A lot of guys that are committed to play D1 aren't in the regional, which is pretty remarkable when you think about it. Not all of our best teams are in this regional, but that's what really makes baseball, beautiful. You never know on any given day.
And that's why the one and done of the tournament is just so exciting, because you just don't know.
You never know. But, at the same time, you have so many talented athletes that are going to be playing today. Like you mentioned, Skirpak, of course, who's absolutely amazing on the football field to watch. He's great at baseball, our co-pitcher of the year. And then you got other guys for Ursuline, and they've got so many athletes on the squad, like Brady Shannon, a guy that's a big power bat that's going to go play down in Florida for his college career. You got a guy like Carilla who's dominated everybody around this area. Groner, another guy, Bako, Manning, I mean, the list goes on and on. Erickson, a quarterback on the football field, will probably start this year for the Ursuline Irish now that Shannon's going to be gone. And then South Range has so many special athletes as well on their team and, their staff under Hannock. So it's fun to watch. It truly is because, like I said, going back to it, regional baseball and state baseball, you're getting the best of the best in the area. So you know what you're going to get. Going back to when, South Range won their state championship, look at their team. They were unbelievable. They were stacked. I mean, even though they had a losing record coming in, you had a guy like Jacob Gehring that was going to win you a ball game on the mound. It doesn't matter who you're facing. Just competitors out there. And, that's what you love to see at the high school level.
They had the big 1-2 punch, and then they had a guy in Brendan Youngs who they could bring in late in the game to be a closer, and that was just all they needed for that tournament run.
Yep.
Just boom. It proves that you don't have to have a great regular season in baseball because it's hard in baseball because you're playing 4 or 5 times a week. So you have to go deep in your pitching depth to really have a successful regular season. In the tournament, it's 2 games and then a week, 2 games a week. So you have a 1-2 punch and you can just roll through the tournament.
You're right. Because, I mean, when you look at the bracket, you play today, you play tomorrow for the regional final, you get a whole week off, 7 days off until you play your next game. So, you kind of just regroup and revamp. And, you see a lot of teams who play games in between their district tournament and their regional tournament just to get those bullpen guys involved because they know they're going to need them down the stretch. But overall, it's the same 2 guys that you're going to be seeing throughout the entire district and regional and state run.
And it's a perfect segue. Before we take a break, I want to talk about South Range's week and what they did to sharpen their teeth. They went and played 2 Division I teams this week just to kind of expose themselves to some really good pitching and to, one, get their pitchers a little bit ready, but also, get the guys that have put in the work, the dirty work, some innings before the season was over. They played Hoover and Walsh Jesuit this week on Monday and Tuesday to get ready for this regional semifinal. They lost to Walsh 11-10, and Hoover took care of them 10-0. And a lot of coaches would shy away from playing a team in Division I to try to get ready for a tournament because they would look at a 10-0 loss and say, wow, that's demoralizing right before we have to go play a regional semi. But Coach Hannock sees it the other way. Like, if you see the pitchers that Hoover has, nothing's going to surprise you about what Hawkins brings to the table.
You're right. That's a great move by Coach Hannock. I mean, obviously Hoover and Walsh Jesuit are the 2 teams playing each other in that regional semi matchup in Division I, 2 of the best programs in Northeastern Ohio on the baseball side. So when you take on opponents like that, it only prepares you and sharpens your tools for regional semifinal in your division because you're jumping 2 to play them. That's impressive enough. And it only helps you down the long run. JFK played Ursuline actually in non-conference play, of course, during their break before the regional semifinal. So 2 more teams that matched up locally. I know Ursuline's ahead of JFK in the divisional standings. So, I mean, JFK won that game. But they're obviously not throwing their aces and their dogs, but it's still cool to see these teams match up. And, it's really cool that obviously JFK, who beat Ursuline, they're going to play at 5, right on cue there. So we wish them the best of luck. And it's really hard for schools to find those teams to play once you're in the district and once you're in the regional tournament because there's not many left. And you're only going to be playing teams that are left because, a team like, I don't know, a Boardman or an Austintown's not going to come back and be like, oh, yeah, our season's over. But, we're going to come back and play you for an exhibition game before your guys' tournament. So you're only finding the best of the best left in the regional play. So that's always difficult to schedule. And I give credit to Coach Hannock, who put together 2 juggernauts of Walsh Jesuit and Canton Hoover to play before their matchup today.
Kevin, we're sorry you missed it, but we did go in depth on the JFK matchup, which is going to be at 5:00 today against Hillsdale at Gilmore Academy. So we wish them the best of luck. Of course, we love all of our teams on YSN that are playing in regional semifinals. And also going on tonight, Richie, you're kind of busy. You had an opening night to deal with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. We're going to start talking about that after this break on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa.
And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing.
Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships.
We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team.
Your goals, our game plan.
Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Richie Giuliano, who is taking the place of Ty Bartell, who is on the call for regional action in Massillon, Washington at 2 o'clock, right after our show. South Range playing in the regional semifinal first, and then he'll also be on the call for Ursuline's regional semifinal in Massillon. All those games can be found on ysnlive.com/live. One payment of $9.99 gets you access to all the playoff games. The other baseball on today that is not a playoff game is free. So the $9.99 is only for your playoff games as far as when you're paying it. And one of the free games tonight, Richie, is your debut as the voice of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers on YSN. And I know you're excited about the second year of Scrappers and the first year to be on the call. You got a chance to see him quite a bit last year. Yeah. What do you think is going to change a lot about this draft league from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, one thing that's going to change significantly is, after the draft, we're going to have a different type of MLB draft league where they're actually going to pay these guys to come in and play. Last year after the draft, a lot of the guys went back home. So you'd have a lot of fill-ins around this area that were trying to fill in for different holes. You're kind of just patching holes at that point. But, now you're going to have, minor league guys pretty much now that they're going to get paid. It's not going to be a lot, but, at least they're getting paid to play baseball. It's almost going to be like independent league matched up with minor league after the MLB draft. But, before the draft, you got all the guys who are eligible to get drafted come the draft season. So you got some of the best prospects in the country all the way around from the college level to even some high school kids. Right now, the Scrappers have a guy from Carlos Beltran Baseball Academy that's going to play. He's a catcher. His name's Adrian Salas. He's about 18 to 19 years old. So he's a high school draftee eligible guy that's from Puerto Rico. And, I think a lot of baseball fans know that the Puerto Ricans get drafted when they're about 18, 19, including a guy that a lot of people know around this area and Jose Ramirez. So you're getting a lot of those type of guys in this league. Also some guys that have put up some really fantastic numbers in the college season. Looking at my notes here, you got a guy like Jason Hinchman who comes from Tennessee Tech, which is one of the best mid-major programs in the country. He was 6th in all of college baseball this season with 26 home runs. He had 73 RBIs, which is top 20 in the country as well. He hit 372, and this is his second year playing with the Scrappers. So a lot of familiar names coming back. You got Buck Anderson, Jalen Jones, Jason Hinchman coming back, and you also have a local guy in Mark Heron Jr., who's from Warren Harding High School, who's going to be playing some games for the Scrappers. So there's a lot of talent out there at Eastwood Field continuing from last season and starting tonight at 7 o'clock. So we hope you could join us on YSN. We'll have, our Baird Brothers pregame show starting at 6:55. So hopefully you could join us, online and, get to listen to some of the best athletes in the country when it comes from the college level.
Last year before the draft, the Scrappers were one of the best teams in the league. Obviously, after, like you said, they had to kind of patch some holes and they slipped off a little bit. But this year, I think it caters to teams to be able to sustain success after that draft. Do you think the Scrappers, if they get off to the start they did like they did last year, can be a team that can sustain success with the new addition to what they're going to do after the draft?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you mentioned, they were red hot coming out of the MLB Draft League to start the season here in the month of June. But then once, a lot of the players left and the draft was concluded, they kind of cooled down a little bit. It's more about pitching than anything because their lineup consistently was really good last year. But pitching wise is where you lose a lot of the arms and you got to patch the holes. So they got a lot of good pitchers on the roster this season. And, it's going to be really fun to watch, including West Virginia. I mean, I'll kind of preview them as well. West Virginia's got a couple guys that are actually from West Virginia University that are going to sling it tonight. So it's going to be a really fun environment, especially on opening night. It's Buck night. So, dollar dogs and, dollar domestic draft beers. So it's going to be a fun atmosphere. It's fireworks night tonight and tomorrow night. But yeah, I think they do have the ability to sustain long success, especially with the lineup being so good this season and their pitching staff revamped from a year ago. They've got the same pitching coaches coming back from last year. And, Craig Antush, who was the assistant pitching coach, and Ron Mayhay, who's the regular pitching coach. Both those guys were with the Scrappers last season. So they've done a great job. And, we're looking forward to a successful year. But, ultimately, it's not about wins and losses in this league. It's more individual based. These guys are trying to put up numbers and, trying to impress scouts so that they could get drafted.
That's the interesting conversation because, of course, this is almost like a glorified travel league where guys are trying to expose themselves instead of colleges like, Class B. They're trying to expose themselves to the MLB scouts and get them, raise their draft stock. But at the same time, you can't turn that competitive drive off. You want to go out and win games. You want to win the league championship. And it's on the managers to kind of balance winning with exposing these players and getting everyone a chance to kind of, go out there and have their moment on the stage and also try to win games. Homer Bush taking his first year at the Reign. Talk about him and what he brings to this staff and how you think he's going to manage that dynamic of trying to win games, and obviously you can't turn off that competitive juice, but also trying to get these kids in the best spot possible to raise their draft stock.
Yeah, I think that's the toughest balance, in this MLB draft league. Coco Crisp did a nice job of it last season where you got to balance winning ball games, getting guys' attention with the scouts and, making sure that you're playing different guys at different positions so they're getting different looks from different angles as well. So when you look at it, Homer Bush, his first time coaching here in the draft league, pretty well known. I mean, he played in Major League Baseball for a couple of years, including a championship in 1998 with the New York Yankees. So obviously he comes from a winning background, and he talked at Scrappers Fest on Tuesday, very excited to take over this program. He talked about the Mahoney Valley Scrappers job being the most premier job in the entire MLB Draft League, and he thanked the fans for coming out to Scrappers Fest, which was a great turnout on Tuesday to meet the players, meet the manager, and meet the entire organization. So he's definitely excited for this opportunity. But, I think this is the hardest level to manage baseball at because you're doing multiple things and you're not so focused on winning. You're more focused on getting guys action and making sure that they're developing over the summer and getting better as the summer goes on. When you have a minor league job, whether that be single A through triple A and obviously the majors, you have one goal, and that's to win. And you're going to throw guys out there in situations that are going to win you ball games. But it's completely different in this league because you're not thinking about winning. You're thinking about game action and, getting these guys experience. So that's going to be very difficult for Homer Bush to manage. I think this is the hardest league to manage in, to be honest with you, just because you have to balance winning and you have to balance guys getting game action.
They're not a minor league team anymore, but they still have the minor league fan experience and the promotion schedule that they put on. You've been, through the field. They have a lot of promotions that they have every year. What's your favorite promotional night that the Scrappers put on?
It's got to be tonight. It's Buck Night. I mean, that's what really draws a lot of the big crowds. Thursday night is their Buck Night. There's a couple of them on the schedule this season, and it's dollar dogs for the fans, and it creates that cheaper environment. When you go to a baseball game, whether it be minor league or professional level, you're paying an arm and a leg to go to a baseball game nowadays. Whether that's parking, which is $15 to $20, then you get in the stadium, and then you're hungry. That costs you $20 a person. I mean, the seats are $40 if you want to sit down low. So I mean, just for one person, you're looking at almost $100 to go to a baseball game.
And
so
talk about bringing your family. It's like
and bringing your family. If you bring 4 people, you're pretty much putting a dent in your bank account. But anyway, I think that the Scrappers have done such a great job. Heather Solly, one of those up at the top, who's done a lot of the promotions. Of course, Jordan Taylor, the general manager, who's pitched in with this, and they're just trying to create a great atmosphere for this valley, and get people out to the ballpark, and not have to worry about spending your weekly paycheck in order to come to a baseball game on a Thursday night for opening day. So I mean, when you got dollar dogs and dollar domestic draft beers, that's all you really need in a baseball stadium. So hopefully everybody comes out and supports the new 2022 Mahoning Valley Scrappers season.
One of the things that I love about the Scrappers, and I've said this last year, they're in Niles, but they buy into the community aspect. They are a part of the community. They go into the community. They reach out to the community. They're not just someone that just puts their flag into the city and says we're here. They care that they're here, and they care about the community. They give away tickets to the MRDD, which is getting kids with developmental disabilities out to the ballpark and giving them something to do on the weekends, which I think is a tremendous thing. But they all do all types of things like that, where they try to get community involvement and community reach out to the Mahoning Valley community, which I think is one of the big reasons why they were one of the programs that were so fought for to get back in that time when we thought the Scrappers were going to be eliminated. I think there weren't a lot of communities that outcried for their minor league team as much as we did for the Scrappers.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, when you look at a team like Trenton, who's in the MLB Draft League, I mean, they were Double-A at one point for the New York Yankees, and there wasn't much to keep them there and keep them in minor league baseball. But you're right. There was so much effort that went into keeping the Scrappers and keeping them around. The community loves the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. Look at all the guys that, the Mahoning Valley has raised up and are now succeeding at the major league level. Francisco Lindor, Jose Ramirez, Victor Martinez, CC Sabathia. These were guys that, the Valley raised up. That was their first step in minor league baseball to get to where they were in their careers. So there's a lot of pride that is taken here in the Mahoning Valley for the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. And, they've supported this team, whether they're in the MLB Draft League or whether they're in minor league baseball. The Scrappers last year led the entire league in the draft league in attendance. So, kudos to these fans who have come out and to continue to support this program and continue to support these guys on the field day in and day out. And kind of going back to your point, they've given away a lot of promotional items to a lot of the youth baseball programs. Me being the PA guy last year, announcing all the PA programs, Cub Scouts who come out. They have Scout Night where, they have the Cub Scouts come out and then they get to spend the night on the baseball field and watch a movie on the Jumbotron. So they do a lot for this community to get the kids out of the houses and, get them out to the baseball game for cheap and even free ways. I mean, you go around and you could find some Scrappers tickets in local restaurants that you could get coupons to redeem at the box office for, 4 free general admission tickets. So they're doing a lot for this community because it's not easy as a baseball program to give away free items because, that's how you survive, right? You need to make money in order to pay some of these guys towards the end of the year and, to be able to continue to raise a franchise. But they're doing everything in their power to be able to help the community out. And, I think they've done a great job in their front office as that continues to grow. And, I tip my cap to them, and I'm really excited to be a part of this group here this summer.
Yesterday, we had our first ticket giveaway on Running Point, and we'll be doing that every Friday of the season going forward. We'll have a trivia challenge, and we'll have someone winning tickets to Scrappers games, which are redeemable for any home game. So we're excited to, to try to give away some tickets to get you out to the Eastwood Field as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, obviously the Scrappers help us out with tickets and, us being a big part of their organization this summer. But, for us even to give back to the community and, a lot of our loyal fans that could go out and enjoy a free night at the ballpark. I mean, doesn't get much better than that. I'll tell you. I mean, being at Eastwood Field pretty much my entire spring season with YSU baseball and then with the Scrappers. I mean, there's a lot of joy that goes into, the spring season when you look at a baseball night in the Mahoning Valley.
And, you look at tonight, and we'll look at the Storm Tracker 21 app for weather as far as tonight's forecast goes for baseball, especially in the area with the Scrappers. And you look at it cloudy but dry, which is what we want. It's going to be at first pitch for Scrappers, it's going to be partly sunny and 68. First pitch for regional baseball, it's going to be 70 and cloudy. So, kind of a perfect day for baseball. Not too hot, not too cold. Sun might be shining by the time you guys start in Niles. And considering what the forecast was yesterday, what it looked like those thunderstorms from last night were going to stick around into today, but not the case. We look like we're going to have dry baseball.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I was talking to Noah, who's the groundskeeper yesterday, and he was kind of concerned about the rain, but he did say it was only going to be in the morning. So, that's always good because bet that rainy baseball is the worst type of baseball. I mean, it is just brutal. I mean, it's not fun for the fans, but now that it's going to be dry, I mean, hopefully the Scrappers pour in 6,000 at Eastwood Field tonight, and that baby's rocking for the home opener.
I'll tell you, last night the skies looked darker than I hadn't seen them in a long time. I mean, it looked like it was an angry thunderstorm coming at us, and I was like, "Oh no!"
It was bad because I mean, you look at the playing surface for tomorrow, the next day, because if it rains so much, a lot of these high school fields, of course, the regional, a lot of them they're playing on its turf, but they can't hold so much rain. So you kind of hold your breath there, especially when it's about the thunderstorm for the next day, for the next couple of days, because you never want to delay the games. It always messes up the pitching staff, and you just want to get them in cleanly. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, when I went down to the Horizon League tournament, we were in rain delays for 5-6 hours, at Wright State. So it's the worst just hanging around. The guys get tired once they show up. So you just want everything to run smoothly, get there, sunshine, let's play the game, and let's go home.
One of YSU's games started in the twilight hours, right? Like at 9 o'clock, it was the start time.
Yeah, that was tough. And they lost that game to Oakland, and then you have to wake up the next morning after going to bed at 2 o'clock, and play. So I mean, it's always
was tough. That the one where they had the bases loaded in the last 2 innings and they couldn't get it to run across?
Yeah, they had a good look. They had a good look in the last 2 innings.
Timely hitting, right? That's what it comes down to.
We talked about it. Second and third with 1 out in the 8th, and then the bases loaded in the 9th. But it's that time of hitting.
What I like about baseball and softball is it's universal no matter what the level is. Like timely hitting is important in the MLB. It's important in high school. Like there's nothing that kind of separates that. It's
right.
It's just as important.
It is. I mean, when you look at it, timely hitting it's 2-out hitting. That's always the biggest stat of the game. How many 2-out hits do you have? Because that's what separates you from being an average club to a really good club when you can produce guys with 2 down. So I know we've talked a lot of baseball today, but it's baseball season. We got the regional semis today. We got the opening day for the Scrappers. We got a lot of scene games here today.
Right.
Look at it. I think there's over 6 or 7 scene games from the 14U level up to 16U today. So, I mean, there's a lot going on at Bob Scene Park, which is always a good time in the summer. So this is my favorite time of the year because I'm a baseball guy at heart, and I love baseball around this valley. So this is my favorite time of the year.
Yesterday, because of the rain, they were only able to get 1 game in for Class B baseball. 18U Dura Edge beat Whiting Roloffs 4-0 before the rain came at Scene Park. And you look at this game, a shutout for Dura Edge, and the pitching from Camden Sergey was phenomenal. 5 innings pitched, gave up no runs on 3 hits, struck out 6. The offense for Dura Edge wasn't a lot, but it was enough. RBIs, 4 of them come from Caleb Jones, 2 for 2, 1 walk, 4 RBI on the day. So Caleb Jones, the offense, and the pitching from Sergey really propelled Dura Edge to the win.
Dura Edge is going to be a squad to look out for this year. They're already 3-1 to start the season with just 1 loss to Creekside. They got a lot of good names on their roster, including the Youngstown State commit Braden Gebhardt, who's going to throw. They got Nate Holt, who comes from Champion. He was a stud in the spring. Jake Coral, who's committed to go play baseball at John Carroll. So you got a lot of college commits on that team who are looking to continue their baseball season and stay in shape for their college career. So that's going to be a team to look out for when you look at the 18-year-old Class B standings. There's really 3 teams this year that stand out, and it's Creekside Fitness, it's the Astro Falcons, and it's Dura Edge.
And it's usually always coming down to Astro and Creekside, but Dura Edge is trying to be that next team.
You're right. Yeah, Creekside.
And I think what excites me is when you get into 16U, I think there are more competitive teams this year, and you see the programs and these teams kind of building and getting a lot more competitive, and that'll trickle down to 18U eventually.
Yeah, because the 16U guys have to grow up, right? They got to play at 18U.
Like on Tuesday night, Whiting threw our first no-hitter of the season in Class B with Parado throwing a no-hitter for Whiting over Prospect. So you see a lot of talent in that 16U division spread out through the teams, which has got to make you excited for Class B going forward in the 18U divisions and how competitive and how much parity there's really going to be in that age bracket this year and in the next couple of years too.
And I'll say this, Whiting, since their new extinction here in the league in the last couple of years, their program's been really good. They had a lot of guys last year who played at the 18-year-old division that were only 16 years old. And they still have some of those guys this year that are playing at that 18U division that are still underage. So, in a few years, they're going to be competing with Astro and Creekside to win that 18-year-old division. So, Whiting has done a tremendous job with their roster and getting guys locally. So far in the 16U division, they've won 4 in a row now. They have scored 10 or more runs in all 4 of those games. So their offense has been lightening up at the 16U level. And, that's always fun to watch out with the younger generations, because at some point they're going to be playing at the highest level in the 18-year-old division, and, they're going to be able to compete.
We'll continue our Class B coverage throughout the summer. All of the games at Scene Park will be covered this summer, which is exciting. We love our partnership with Scene Park, and we'll continue it throughout the summer. We're going to take our second break of the day. When we get back on Running Point, we'll have more baseball talk. And we just released that our baseball and softball all-star games are happening. So we'll talk about that and some of the names that may appear on those rosters. We'll talk about some of the names that we think, maybe should be on it, some of the teams that we would love to see on it, and things like that. So we'll be back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Jimmy Sudman here, director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
How lucky are we to have not 1, but 2 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring PGA professionals, golf instruction, a players rewards club, kids programs, and a pro shop and grill room for a memorable golf experience. Call or click to schedule your tee time at Mill Creek Golf Course.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Now is the time to think about your future, where you want to go, what you want to be. Your future can start now at Kent State Salem or Kent State East Liverpool. We have programs that will open doors and provide opportunities for you to pursue your passion. We are affordable, we are close. You call it hometown, we call it Kent State University. Learn more at www.kent.edu/Columbiana. You belong here.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Richie Giuliano. And we just had the press release, Ty. Very exciting that we are officially having our YSN All-Star games come back for baseball and softball this year. And the baseball All-Star game, the date is set. It will be on June 25th at Scene Park. And once again, Scene Park will host the baseball All-Star game for the second year. And every YSN school will have one player that is invited to play in this game. And so that means that Scene Park will host a night with over 50 uniforms on the field at once, which no other All-Star game can really stake their claim to.
That was awesome last year, what YSN was able to put together. You know, we had guys come up in the booth and do interviews. I know we talked to Garing, we talked to Shannon, we talked to Pancake, a couple other guys that came up and talked to us. So that was a really cool experience from the broadcast perspective, but a great turnout at Bobsine Park last year from a fan experience perspective. And, you know, so many people flocked to one of the best ballparks in the Valley in Bobsine Park and Scene 1 to watch the best players around the area compete on the same diamond. So obviously you're going to have a couple schools that get more than one just because it's hard to keep them off the field. But, you know, every school on our panel is going to be represented, which is, you know, always a very special event.
We find that important to make sure that every team is at least given the opportunity to play in this game, given the invite, given the same, you know, that way, you know, YSN, we love all of our teams, we're partnered with all of our teams. So to leave one of them out or leave any of them out would be detrimental to what our totem pole is as a company, loyal, local, loyal live. Sorry. Local, loyal live. So if we're not loyal to our teams, it kind of ruins the whole tagline, right?
And I mean, you have to have everybody represented because it's only fair, right? I mean, everybody has one player on their team that deserves to play in the All-Star game. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what kind of season you had. And, you know, I think that's what made it special. There's a lot of people last year that, you know, were able to look at some players that they might not have heard of because, you know, other players might have overshadowed them throughout the season, but, you know, also contributed in that All-Star game. So, and, you know, it's always a friendly environment too, because a lot of these guys play travel ball together.
Right.
They're all featured in the Class B league. So it's a lot of fun, you know, when you have, you know, teammates facing each other for the first time ever as well, you know, at the plate or on the mound. It's always cool.
The softball game date is to be determined, but it will be at YSU Softball Complex like it was last year. And like the baseball game, it'll be under the lights. And every team will be given the opportunity to be represented in the softball all-star game. Once again, at YSU Softball Complex, date to be determined.
And, you know, thanks to YSU for letting us use their field, one of the best softball fields around. And, you know, I'll say it is the best field in their league. Obviously, they didn't even get a top 4 seed in the tournament, but they hosted because of how nice that complex is. So thanks to them for letting us host that. And, you know, that's a premier facility for those young ladies to play on.
And I was, you know, last year you talked about like what the baseball all-star game was like, and especially when we got to see some of these players that maybe people in the area that fans don't know as much about, and they get kind of exposure to them. You also get players that just have the chance to do something that they haven't done in their career before, you know, get a hit off of somebody. I remember I coached in that game last year, and Mackenzie Kerr from Waterloo had never gotten a hit off of Bree Callow from McDonald. They're in the same conference. They were both, you know, she was a junior and Bree Callow was a senior. They'd seen each other a lot. She never gotten a hit off her. She was telling me in the dugout, I'd never gotten a hit off this girl. What does she do? Goes up to the plate with runners on base. She hits an RBI double, and she gets Skittles in the dugout because I gave all of our players Skittles if they got on base. So she got a few extra Skittles, literally not YSN Skittles.
Remember the Citadel head coach feeding us Starburst? You like
Starburst?
That coach.
Yeah, that's one of the inspirations. I was like, man, I got to eat something so I don't yell at the umpire here, you know. That's one of the best moments we ever had working together, man.
It was. That was fun.
We got to get back together for something.
We'll get some volleyball games in for sure.
Yeah, let's do some volleyball.
We could get volleyball. We could get whatever you want.
I think we did one Canfield volleyball game this year, didn't we? In the beginning of the season?
We did. And basketball.
DJ Oakley popping in. DJ, how we doing today?
I'm doing well, boys. Getting ready to head out on the road. I wanted to give an update and let people know there will be no power hour because naturally the game, they're talking about it. It's rumored right now that they're trying to figure out if they're going to leave it at 5 o'clock in Louisville or in Thurman Munson Stadium. They're going to move it up. They're going to move it back. I mean, they're just trying to figure out what's going on with this weather pattern right now, which I don't think anybody really has a finger on other than our friends over at Channel 21, WFMJ, and Storm Tracker 21 app. So I'll be looking at that. But I wanted to pop in and just tell you, this has been a lights out show. Unbelievable, boys. Knocking it out of the park. And what's awesome about this, and this guy right here, this guy right here, shut up, Richie. This guy right here, the amount of homework that he does and the amount of modesty that he has been unbelievable. I mean, he's getting ready for a game tonight at 7:05, and he's got so much homework on these teams that he's not even doing a game on for baseball today, just for this show. I want to give him a shout out. And obviously, Richie, we've been in talks and we're close to keeping you here. We're so close. And we're just excited. Congratulations. I don't think anybody's really pushed the congratulatory texts or anything out there to you. Congratulations. 4 years at YSU, man. You knocked it out of the park. You squeezed that lemon and juiced it for everything it was worth, more than anybody I've seen in a long time. So congratulations on a great career at Youngstown State. And obviously you've got so many offers on the table for people who want you to be part of their team. And no matter what happens, we're so glad that you've been part of ours for that past 4 years. We would not have been able to do it without you. So thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, I appreciate you, DJ, of course, allowing me to be, the first voice of YSU baseball. And I've really enjoyed my time there. So I appreciate, everything you've done, allowing me to come back to my hometown and, allowing me to show my passion for Canfield athletics, whether that be football, basketball, or baseball. So, I couldn't be where I'm at right now if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for Anthony, Ty, Steve, everybody involved at YSN. So, I'd like to, appreciate, my gratitude to you and, thank you for all that you've done for, not just me, but for everybody else, around the Mahoning Valley. I mean, when you look at other guys and, an Anthony Romo, who's, kind of under my wing the last couple of years and the opportunities he has had being able to call a state championship. There's not too many college broadcasters that get that opportunity. So, we appreciate you as much as you appreciate us. And I just like to put that out there.
Now, I am coming in on here selfishly a little bit to let people know that we need a keep Richie here kind of a slogan, like a hashtag or something. Because, I mean, honestly, you mentioned Romo. It's guys like you and Romo and Steve that are the next phase of YSN to keep you here and to keep you be the faces of the franchise, so to speak. This little guy over, me, I don't want to necessarily be on every single commercial and doing all that. But it's people don't realize how much these two guys, wait, I guess it's over here now. These two guys have really allowed me to free up my time to do other things to help this baby grow at YSN. And Anthony, you've been a huge part of this and you have been committed since the day one. And Romo's been there too. And Richie, you've been right there and you've taken on a leadership role before we even asked you to. And that's why it's so imperative for us to, when we look at, things that we want to do, it includes you, but we're not going to stop you from accomplishing your dreams, man. I just can't wait. I told you 4 years ago after your first couple broadcasts that I can't wait to say we knew Richie when, and I still believe that. But with the upward trajectory of what you're doing and the impact that you can make here locally, I firmly believe, and I hope I'm not stepping on any toes, that you are the face of the Youngstown area sports district, so to speak, for years and years to come if you want it. But we all understand whenever the Guardians come knocking, that's your dream, man. So we're proud to have you as the voice of the Scrappers. moving on to that. That's a huge role for you, I think, and one that I know they're extremely proud of. And you're gonna wear those colors proudly and represent both franchises, YSN and the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, very well starting tonight. Don't get too many hot dogs. All right, we know how you eat. Like you keep that girlish figure so well, but you eat more popsicles than anybody I've ever met in my life. You consume more food than I've ever met. Anybody that I've ever met, and I'm sure you could put down some dollar dogs tonight.
Yeah.
So.
It might get dangerous up in the booth tonight with the dogs.
What's the over under on how many dogs you and Romo consume tonight?
Oh God, it might be 10, might be double digits.
I was gonna say you're holding out on your contract just to go by how many dogs you have to put into that contract. So we'll cap it at. I'll give you an extra 2. So you and Romo can go a dozen apiece. I don't know how you're going to get out of that place if you both eat a dozen hot dogs, because you're like the Kobayashi of YSN when putting away food. Real story, Ant. Real story. We went to Inner Circle. What was that? 2 weeks ago, something like that. After a game, and it was the Canfield Polo game, and Richie orders an entire pizza, and I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. Like he wants it like for here, and then some for like when he goes home. My man crushed like before he put it in his mouth before the waitress put the thing down. It was hot, like cheese and everything. And he looks at me, he's like, cheese is hot. It's hot. And before I knew it, the entire pie is gone. It's gone. And it's just down to one little piece of crust. And he looked at me, he's like, I don't have anything left in me.
Hey, you battled too. You almost finished that.
Listen, I told you I'm a competitive guy. I can't let you eat a whole pizza and me sit there with a half and that waitress mock me. Like, it's not going to happen like that. And then not to mention we had Canfield baseball there. South Range baseball was there. Like, you're not going to embarrass me, Richie. I'm going to go down fighting. I'm going to go down fighting. And I'm going to tell you this. I did not feel right for 2 days after I ate that pizza. And it's not about the pizza. It's about I'm not built for that life anymore. Diabetic DJ is no longer on the shelf.
That is great. I mean, you come to the home city of Canfield, I'm going to be smashing some pizza.
I was in a bad spot, man, because that was your dojo. And I walked in and I did the bow to the sensei thing and like, let's go. And you took me to school, man. You went black belt on me real quick in Inner Circle. And I learned my lesson. So I got to come with a game plan next time. I got to attack early. And I think like the problem is I think you let me do all the talking during that conversation, and you just were shoveling pizza in your mouth. It was unbelievable. It was if you're used to watching the hot dog contest on 4th of July, Richie Giuliano should be in that, hands down. Hands down. And we know that you're the Capri Sun chugging champion here at YSN.
That's right.
You're also the popsicle champion here at YSN. What's next for you?
Starburst.
Well, Starburst is a no contest. Like
that's a no contest.
That's like your snack. Like I've never seen you go to talk to Richie because we play. We have a nice little setup here, which is going to get better. By the way, we got a 70-inch TV coming, Rich. So we're going to have the football. What is it? NCAA 13, I think.
NCAA, yeah.
And we had a franchise, a dynasty going. And I looked over at Richie. He was just starting, sitting on the sticks, and he was fine. 15 minutes later, there was a garbage pile of like down soldiers of Starburst just stacked up, just papers. Like it was like he was doing the origami of Starburst wrappers right there on the table. I've never seen anything like it. And he just like your stomach is made of iron, like cast iron.
Yeah, it's not very good. I mean, my diet is not very good. So I did eat a salad last night, trying to clean it up a little bit, So
like you made the salad or you bought it from like McDonald's?
No, I bought it. I bought it.
Where did you get it? Free plug.
Bridge.
Okay. So those are legit salads.
They're legit.
But like you go to a Wendy's or like McDonald's, like when people ask me to go to McDonald's and get them a salad, I just look at them. I was like, what? Like you're just getting Big Mac lettuce. That's
Like, I'm not going to Wendy's or McDonald's with the intention of buying a salad.
Not the intention. Like, I respect the people that do it because that's got to be an embarrassing moment. Like you don't go to McDonald's to get a salad. And when people especially the drive-through, you can't see their eyes. It's not like a bank where you can look that person face to face. So when you're at McDonald's or Wendy's and you order a salad, that person's going, give me I want double dressing, and also want a cheeseburger on the side. That's what it turns into for me. And then you go from a simple salad, and then it's like a $17 order, and you look worse than you would had you just ordered a Big Mac.
Yeah. Give me some chicken nuggets diced up on top there, and add some Big Mac sauce.
Smothered dressing.
Did you guys talk about the fireworks tonight by chance?
We talked about Buck Night and Firework Night.
Buck Night, and then it's back-to-back fireworks night,
back-to-back.
by the way, which is, we talked at the Scrapper Fest, Richie, which was phenomenal. This is a big-time opportunity for this area to show up and show out for the Scrappers, and I think we've got a good team. And I think that we can make things work. I'm a little interested to see, I think you are too, after the draft, a whole nother team comes in basically. Yeah. So what is it? Did they say anything about records? Will you keep your record from the first half or do you start over?
I believe you just continue. I think it's just a continuation. I was talking to a lot of the people in the organization. So a lot of these guys are actually just temporary players for the first 10 games. Mm-hmm. You're seeing guys like Michael Turner, who's playing for Arkansas right now. He's going to be playing in the NCAA regional, so he's obviously not eligible. Zach DeZenzo is going to be on the roster at some point, the Marlington product from Ohio State. He'll be playing. So a lot of these guys that they're bringing in are just temporary. They'll be playing for the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks until they bring in a lot of those guys who are eligible from college baseball. So there's really going to be 3 different teams that we're probably going to see, which is, good and bad. But, you'll have guys like Jason Hinchman and Jalen Jones who are going to be on this team throughout the entire season unless they get drafted. But overall, you're going to see a lot of new faces, which will be really interesting. And, a lot of different parts of the country are being displayed here in Eastwood Field because you got guys from California, Georgia, Florida, Iowa, every part of the country. All these guys are a melting pot of the USA playing on one team and playing at Eastwood Field. So be sure to get a program when you're out there. There's so many good stories that we're going to be able to highlight throughout this season. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And we'll be utilizing coaches' corners and player profiles and stuff like that the same way we do with our players. So we're really incorporating, and I know Jordan's very excited. Heather's very excited for that incorporation. And obviously, Richie, it's a great opportunity for you to get to know the guys a little better for the broadcast and get maybe some stories that most people don't know. So we're excited for that. The other thing I want to bring in some breaking news, Anthony, for you here on Running Point is we are officially partnered with Game Changer. Now, if you don't know what Game Changer is an app that you can download. It's a software that is for scoring, but now they allow streaming into their program. And some great conversations with the people of Game Changer, who is actually owned by Dick's Sporting Goods. We've incorporated a nice partnership with them. There's 30 games that are going to be on YSN this summer that are specifically Game Changer games. So you're going to see their branding all over the place. And then we're going from there upward. So they're trying to do a lot of things, incorporate more sports than just baseball and softball. But we're going to be kind of their guinea pigs in the streaming industry, along with another company up in, I want to say it is in New Jersey, that we're working with as well. So another feather in the cap of our local area here streaming that you'll be able to watch. And maybe you saw a few of them on Canfield's Game Changer this past spring as we were working through some of the bugs. But Anthony, your team is going to be one of them that you do on Sundays. We'll incorporate BCB, Boardman Community Baseball, into it, the districts, as well as much Class B as we can. The only one caveat is the teams have to use Game Changer, and they've got to utilize the streaming side of Game Changer, which is the green one. So if you're looking to download the app right now, you want to download the green one. So that way we can incorporate our streams into that and then kind of do the partnership. But very excited for that. Richie, another big piece for you. Anthony, I know that's another big opportunity for you, especially with your teams and our broadcasts here on YSN. So we just continue to push it out. And I just released the press release for our All-Star games. So June 25th will be the All-Star game for baseball at Bobstein Park. We're still waiting on the affirmation date for or the confirmation date for the softball game at YSU. But the logos were done. Richie, you'll be happy to know Kyle Wills designed them from top to bottom. Another Canfield product showcasing here on YSN. Gave him as much love as we possibly could. And the logos are phenomenal. Like, I love the logos this year. Kyle did such a good job with putting them together. The baseball one is the Scene Park scoreboard, which I think is a perfect epitome of what that park is about and should be the showcase of it, the centerpiece, so to speak. And then the YSU girls or women's field, which is I think one of the sharpest in the entire area, with the watermelon lines in the outfield. And we weren't allowed to use the YSU logo, so we used the YSN logo on top. And Kyle just did a great job. So another way of us keeping things local and involving as much talent as we possibly can. And of course, both those games and both those events will be benefiting Project MKC, which is Make Kids Count. And that will be directly impacted here in the Valley. Like, it doesn't go across the country. It doesn't go global. It goes right here in the Valley. So all the proceeds for the ticket sales will go right back to Project MKC.
Can you talk a little bit more about Project MKC and how that relationship started and why we're so proud to use them as a partner for these All-Star games?
Oh, wow, Ant. Going right for the heart. I like it. So for those who don't know, my wife and I are foster parents. Pardon me. Hang on. Had an Anthony moment there. We've been doing that for the last 3 years or so. And I'll never forget that, it's not that we needed it or even wanted it. It's that they cared about our kids no matter what. And even at Christmas, there was a bag that showed up with clothes and toys and all kinds of stuff, necessities also, that they just want these kids to be okay. You know what I mean? They're facing a tough enough story, being in the foster system for whatever reason they're in there. And their main drive is for diapers, but they partner up with different organizations, different businesses to make sure that kids in our communities have the opportunity to have a little bit extra, and maybe just enough, something to have during the holidays and every day, and make sure that they never have to sit in a dirty diaper or a wet diaper, which, as a young parent, I think that I think I'm a young parent. I don't know what that means. Parent of a young person, I guess. It's a challenge, man. It's just a challenge. And especially with, the baby formula and stuff, the way it's been the last month or so, the shortage, it's been a scary, scary ride. So, there's places very similar to Project MKC that are out there, but none that directly impact the same way that this does and these people do in our Valley. And Justin Coffin, who is a local sports guy here, used to coach the girls basketball team. Now he's the 330 show and more. He's a part of that. I believe his family originated Project MKC. So when we reached out to them to say, hey, we want to help, because ultimately our kids could be, our YSN families could be affected, and we have no idea. And we just want to be able to give back. We did it so well, I thought, for the last few with Golden String, raised over $4,000 for our basketball games and stuff like that to give to Jimmy Sutman and Golden String. And they were so excited, because it's not every day that a sports company can step in and do that. But as you guys know, as I've told you before, we're only as good as the impact that we create. And I think by doing it through the sports world, which we do every day and multiple times a day, is great. But to be able to impact, families who don't even know who we are, will ultimately make sure that our legacy is cemented in gold moving forward. And let's face it, man, everybody goes home feeling a lot better after those All-Star games because of what everybody does together.
Yeah, and we saw it in the basketball. Like nothing was better than having Jimmy and Scotty and Radar in half court, accepting that check.
Radar's still trying to get us to simulcast it on. He's got like some satellites up there with Elon Musk that he turns around. He's like, hey, we're going to make sure we get this simulcast like our football. And I said, Radar, let's slow it down a little bit, man. We're still trying to make sure that we can get into these games. And Radar's the man. He calls every single Joe Dickey Electric scoreboard show. But you're right, Ant. Like to make an impact like that on those men and women and those kids with disabilities that they've got enough challenges that they face every day. They should never have to worry about does our foundation, does our company have enough money to do the things that they want to do for us? And that's kind of the same thing that we see with Project MKC. I never want them to have to worry about having to shortchange a kid because there wasn't enough giving at a time of need. And I think that between the entire roster of YSN, the people that support us, and the people that show up at these games, I mean, 2 sellouts for the basketball games. I can only imagine we are going to jam-pack Scene Park. We are going to have people on the hillside of YSU. I cannot wait. It just brings honestly, if you're with me as I get into the car, I'm a wreck. Like I am a mumbling, like crying, like ugly crying wreck because we do make a big impact. And that's something that, we could just go along our merry way and do things for us. But to be able to, again, leave a legacy of impacting people that will never touch a baseball, softball field, I think that just means so much to so many.
DJ, have fun with your game tonight in Louisville. We know it's going to be a great call. South Range is starting in about 5 minutes down there in Massillon with Ty Bartel on the call. And we have Ursuline as well tonight, as well as JFK from Gilmore Academy. So 4 tournament games on the network tonight. Not one payment of $9.99 gets you access to all of them, as well as Class B baseball. And Mr. Giuliano down here going to be calling opening day for the Mahoning Valley Scrappers for his debut as the voice of the Scrappers on YSN. What a day for baseball.
One question for you, DJ, before you go. How amped are you for tonight? I mean, not everybody gets to call a regional semifinal, and you got a guy on the mound who hasn't given up an earned run in over a month. So, I mean, just talk about your excitement, what you're looking forward to tonight, and, how you rallied behind kind of an underdog story here this year. Even though they hosted the district, they still took down Salem and Marlington, 2 teams that, they were kind of the underdog coming into. So just talk about that.
They were the lower seed going into those games, and they scored both of their, all 4 of their runs, split them up 2 and 2. They scored them all in the first inning of each game. I can only imagine what it's going to be like tonight. As I said, Mark Shapiro's son on the bump. You got to think, and I think you guys touched on it a little bit, he's probably got a pitching lesson or 2 from some guys we've heard of. But the thing that I like about Louisville, and I feel bad always doing this because that 2018 South Range team is really the benchmark because they won the state championship. And they did it, and they were just a group of cowboys. You know what I mean? It was like the 2004 Red Sox. And I think that this Louisville team has a lot of that in them. They have a lot of people don't believe in them. People don't necessarily flock to them when you think about the regional semifinalists. They've always had kind of against them. Salem was supposed to beat them. Then Marlington was supposed to beat them. And these guys just get out and they just ball. They don't care. They're the guy. Every one of them's the guy. Brian Warner makes it crystal clear that, you can be the guy. Anybody can be any guy on any given night. And I've fallen in love with this team as I fall in love with, all of our teams. But the story, you always root a little bit harder for the underdog, right? And I think out of the 4 teams we have left, I think Louisville's the biggest dog. And I think that there's just a natural, because they're not so close to us, there's not as much familiarity. So I think once you see these guys and they've been interviewed on YSN, as Anthony and Ty have done, you fall in love with them all over again. And I'm so excited to get out to Thurman Munson here in the next hour or so. And they're having a tailgate party right now. So Louisville knows how to rock. And hopefully tonight they know how to roll.
Later. Enjoy the call. Appreciate
Bye,
you.
guys. Hashtag keep Richie at YSN.
Online petition.
See you, boy.
Mark Roth style.
Mark Roth style. I love it. Richie, thank you so much for being my sidecar today and stepping in for Ty while he's doing work on the road in Massillon. Love having you on. Like I always say, you're always welcome on Running Point. Open door policy. Just walk right in and be on our show. You bring so much to the table. We love having you on. Thank you for bringing us. Want to thank Julia Rapp for taking the time to join us. It feels like forever ago, back in noon. Then we talked to Julia Rapp, who is the track star from Columbiana that also does some work on the softball diamond this year as well as the volleyball team for Columbiana. We had a chance to talk to her about her experience at Columbiana and what she's going to be expecting when she goes to run for Cleveland State next year. We thank her for her time. We thank you guys for watching. We're going to take a 22-hour break. Me and Ty will be back tomorrow from 12 to 2 to finish out the week, talk about all the action that we have tonight. It should be a lot to recap and a lot to talk about. It's going to be fun on a Friday, and we'll see you all then. Enjoy the games tonight. A lot on the network and the tournament and Class B and Scratch.